Welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. We are going to be when this airs, we're going to be like 2 weeks away. It's going to be so crazy, but we're very excited. One of the best things about the Expo this year, not that it's always a lot of fun and everything's cool every year, but what I feel like is so awesome about this year is that more than half, like 60% of our exhibitors this year are brand new to the Expo. They've never been here. They've never been a part of it, but they've got a cool new product. They've got a cool new site, whatever the case may be, they're coming to promote. And that's what makes me so happy, because that's what this thing was created for, to help people who have these amazing products. And we're going to talk about what these guys have in a little bit here, but bringing it to the Expo, sharing it with all of the wonderful people in the industry. And then it's kind of like Shark Tank, but on a much, much smaller level. But it's still the idea of doing that. And one of our new ones this year is Smash Up Fantasy Sports. Chris, Hauck, Minh, a.k.a. the Smash God, is here. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. So excited. You have such a cool product. I can't wait for people to see this. You're also going to be doing a product demo at the Expo. So, Chris, introduce yourself, and then Minh, you can talk about, tell them where you're calling from. You're going to be surprised that one of us is calling from Honolulu and one is calling from Canton. You figure out where that is, which one is which. But Chris, take it away.
Well, Bob, you got the cooler background, but I'm Chris Hauck, as it says here on the screen. I'm in Honolulu right now, although I have a much worse background than our friend Bob over here.
I want to be in Hawaii. I want to be in Honolulu. Well,
listen, when the Expo's done, why don't you come visit?
I'm going to, I'm coming October 12th through the 19th. So,
well, there you go. Well, we'll meet for a drink. It sounds perfect.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be at the Disney Moana Hotel or whatever now it's called.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I know exactly where that is. We walk by it all the time.
Perfect. All right. So, Chris, back to you.
Yeah, so co-founder Smash Up Fantasy Sports, and we'll get into the game a little more in a bit. In Honolulu right now, avid fantasy player. I have to answer the questions, but otherwise, why don't I let the Smash God introduce himself?
The Smash God, we're not worthy.
That's right. What's up, everyone? Minh. I'm calling in from Los Angeles, obviously. So my background is not Hawaii, but it actually looks a little bit like yours, Bob. But I'm out here in LA. Avid fantasy player. Been playing for 20 plus years. Been playing with Chris and beating him for just as long. So,
I love it.
Yeah, it just makes sense for me to be in this space. But yeah, we're happy to be here.
Are you sure your site's not called Smash Talk Fantasy Sports? Because that's what it sounded like already. I don't know. Maybe.
It's part of it, yeah.
It's great. So let's talk about exactly. Let's talk about the innocent beginnings in fantasy sports world. Minh, let's start with you. You kind of already shared some of it. When did you start playing fantasy football? Who brought you into it? Relative, friend, high school, college? You said 20 years, so it's been a while. So you must have been like 4 or 5 when you started playing, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, that was my first word was fantasy sports.
Was trade.
Yes, trade.
My first phrase was trade offer. Yes,
exactly.
It was F.U. Kevin Barlow. Yeah.
No, I started playing 20 some odd years ago. Actually in college. So I actually went to UCLA with Chris. I'm a big basketball guy. So my first foray into fantasy was actually fantasy basketball.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So didn't really know much of what it was. Was a big basketball head. So decided to give it a shot. And this is way, way back in the day when there weren't many platforms. It was like just Yahoo, I think, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So played fantasy basketball, and that really was the gateway sport into fantasy football. And even today, like, I love basketball still. It's like one of my favorite sports, if not my favorite sport. But fantasy football is really like my favorite fantasy sport. Like, it's more exciting. It's more intricate. It's unique because there's a lot of buildup each week into that 1 day or 2 days or maybe now 3 days actually of football. But it's the best, man. It's like I'm getting my daughter into it now. Now she's
fun. Yeah, that's always the best when you get the kids in.
Yeah, just gonna pass that spirit along, and we're just gonna beat Chris and his family going forward. So it's gonna be a generational thing.
A dynasty family tradition.
Exactly.
Love it.
It's not even a joke. We actually have a family league. So we have
I wouldn't. I'm not surprised at all. Chris, talk about your humble beginnings in the fantasy sports world, whether it was football, basketball, baseball, whatever the case may be. When did you get started, and who pulled you into this addiction that we have?
I kind of pulled myself. So I didn't have the cool background of Ming. I literally started playing fantasy when I played for the first time with my parents. I heard about it, sounded cool. We did fantasy football. We just drafted a team, and I calculated the scores from the box scores in the newspaper. Back when you had to wait for the newspaper.
Oh wow! So it's been a while. It's a long time back.
Yeah, so I'm old, Bob. That's I think.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I started in 1985, so I'm with you, bro.
So yeah, I've been playing for a while. Obviously, college is a game changer. Got out there, played with my friends. Yahoo at the time actually let you play online. You didn't have to calculate the scores. You didn't have to mail waiver wires to the commissioner. Eventually got reports. Yeah. Yes. Eventually got Ming into the game. He talked about basketball. The one that actually got him into football, though, was I was at his house in the playoffs for football when I'm just going to talk to the old timers here. I had Billy Volek for the famous Billy Volek game. I was watching that game at Ming's house. We went up for like 50 points against the Raiders, and we were all hooked from there.
Nice. Love it. Love it. All right. So you guys started playing, obviously, quite a while ago, fantasy basketball, fantasy football. Somehow you came across this idea, and I'm going to let you guys expand on it because Smash Up Fantasy Sports, to me, and I'll give you my thoughts, it looks like a combination of fantasy football and Mario Kart. Literally does. I mean, that's kind of what, maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm on board. But it's just looks like a lot of fun. So talk about how this game, your game, or your leagues called Smash Up Fantasy Sports kind of came about when you got it rolling. Once you kind of do that, then go ahead and just expand into how it works, because I want you to explain it because you'll do a lot better job than I probably will.
Let me start with the background then. So myself and my co-founder Haibo, we're just hanging out, literally watching March Madness, drinking beer, and we started talking about how fantasy we love it. We've played for years, but it's kind of just the same thing every year. Mm-hmm. You draft your team, you make a couple free agent moves, depending on the league you're in. You maybe make a trade or two if people are willing to, and even your lineup decisions. Most of the decisions you're always going to start Pat Mahomes. So really, it's like which wide receiver 3 are you going to rotate it? So we were just talking about how do we do something different. And the more we talked about it, we realized so many games out there we love, so many great video games, board games, strategy card games we grew up playing, and so many cool mechanics. That's what kind of moved us into the initial idea, which is could we kind of take, whether you think about strategy cards from a game like Pokemon, Hearthstone, Magic, or whether you think about power-ups from a game like Madden or 2K, as you're like building your team or you're a creative player. Could we kind of take that of power-ups and action cards and bring them into fantasy sports so you had more control, you had more strategy, and you could make your team better or attack your friends and try to take their team down?
Love it.
Yeah.
So Ming, talk about your experience in this and how the roles you play.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to. I did want to add one of the really cool things I love about Smash Up, and just really quickly, the way our game kind of differentiates from standard fantasy sports is, to Chris's point, the game hasn't really changed in like at least the 20 years I've been playing, right? Like if you look at that 20 years ago, it looks the same as it does today. And if you're a fantasy nerd like Chris and I, like it's not about just setting your lineup and forgetting about it, right? Like you're looking at data, looking at research. I mean, now like there's so much amounts of data that people pour into to make decisions. Like really hardcore fantasy players love all those insights and the satisfaction of making the right decision on game day. Well, imagine you have that extra layer of strategy and scoring that can give you that element of being the one who can say like, I made the best decision. I'm like an actual manager or general manager, head coach, and I'm the one that actually led my team to victory. And I think that's what hardcore fantasy players love, is like really looking for that edge, right? And having that extra layer of strategy, which Smash Up provides, makes it really cool and fun. But to answer your question, Bob, my role is to just really help advocate for the game and just give the game a lot of visibility. So whether that's trying to connect and partner with creators on social, try to work with other industry partners to give our game visibility, just to put the Smash Up name out there so people get a chance to learn more about Smash Up and just play a really fun game. I'm just here to do everything I can to help support that effort, because at the end of the day, we just think our game's really fun. So we just want more people to play and get exposed to it.
And Bob, let me simplify it a little bit. He's the brains, I'm the looks. He's the brains, I'm the looks. So that's kind of the way the roles working.
It was so obvious. I'm surprised I missed that.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the website, and so folks, if you go to smashupsports.com, like there's a card on there, and it says Speed Demon, and the card says if your selected player has a reception of 40 yards or more, I assume it's in one game, this card is worth 30 points. That is a lot of fun. Do you play that card before the lineups, like when you submit the lineups, or can you wait and go, well, I didn't need that card this week, so I won't play it? Or how does that work? Because that's kind of the fun part of this, is these Smash cards and their power-ups and, various things. Talk about the different ones, just a few of the different cards that you have and how many points they are and how they work and how you play them. And because I think that is the thing that is like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, so let's kind of take it one at a time. Let's talk about the types of cards. We'll talk a little bit about the mechanics. So last year, when we just did kind of a small beta launch late in the year, all we had, if you played at all, is essentially power-up cards that just helped your individual players, like the one you're saying, Speed Demon. Play it on Tyreek Hill. He gets a long reception. Boom, 30 more points added to your score. This year, though, we're expanding. So we have more games this year. Last year, we just had a kind of a weekly tournament. This year, we can talk more about this in a minute. We're going to have season-long leagues. We're also going to have a single-player mode we're extremely excited about, first of its kind. So we're adding some more cards. We're going to have cards that impact the entire lineup, cards that can impact the entire league, and then attack cards, which are my favorite, which are ones you can play that specifically go to kind of try to take down your opponent. So the way it works right now is you have a salary cap. You got a salary cap to pick your players. You got a second salary cap to pick your Smash cards. You can pick one awesome card. You can pick 6 cards if they fit in the cap. Other games may have different variations at some point, but right now it's kind of cap-based. Everyone has the same cards. Everyone has the same salary caps. It's not pay to win. It's not a gambling game. It's not, it's meritocratic. But you could play the card on your player at the start of the week. Until the player locks, you can still change stuff around this. So to your point, I might decide on Wednesday I want to play that on Tyreek Hill. Maybe I think Tyreek's matchup is iffy. So, we all look Sunday morning right before the game.
Right. Or he tweaks his hamstring the day before in practice. Yeah, right.
So that's the mechanics. But for me, why don't you tell a little bit about some of your favorite cards? So it's not just on me.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so it's basically like daily fantasy sports, right? You have an opportunity to set a lineup based on a budget, and then your cards, you have a budget as well. And I will say one of the things that's really fun is when you set your lineup, you're always, and Bob, you're probably the same way as Chris and I, you're always looking at the projected score. Like, what's my projected score for the week? You want the highest projected score. But once you start adding on these different cards based on the combination of cards you choose, it then begins to display your different projected scores. So it's almost like a game in of itself. We got a lot of great feedback. Like, people are always trying to game the platform a little bit to try to get that higher projected score based on the different card selections. But some of my favorite ones, I love Bruising Bell Cow, which is a card that you can put on your Bell Cow running back, right? So based on how many carries and how well he does on that day, you get an augmentation of your score. Speed Demon, which also was an effective one. And then there's actually so many different cards, but the exciting thing is we're actually going to be releasing a lot of new cards for this upcoming season. And like Chris mentioned, there's some entire team-based cards. So a lot of our cards from last season were just individual cards you placed on one player, but we're going to have the opportunity to place cards across the board on your entire team. So we'll augment the entire team and every member based on certain mechanics or qualifiers and things like that.
Got it. So one of the ones on the site I was looking at, first thing I thought of was Gus Edwards. It's called the Human Vulture card, and all touchdowns are doubled, but your yards rushing are cut in half. That is a Gus Edwards card if I ever seen one. He scores 2 touchdowns in the game, 24 points, but he doesn't rush for that many yards anyway, so who cares?
when we started, before we did this, Hyben, we actually had a league we did with friends that was mostly in like Google Docs. And because there's nothing copyright to worry about, every single card was basically named or inspired by like real NFL players, real NFL moments. Obviously not a real company. We got to be a little more careful with the name, but I'll say that card may have been inspired by Matt Asiata, from back in the day. Every Adrian Peterson owner was the bane of our existence, right?
Yeah. There was a guy for Buffalo way back in the day. I think his name was Rob Bell. And I think and then one of the last years for the Bus, Jerome Bettis. I remember he didn't have a lot of rushing yards, but he had like 17 rushing touchdowns. Because my league that I've played since 1985 is touchdown only. So those guys are like gold. And so, we won't change the scoring because we want to stay OG, I guess. But those vultures are huge in our league if you can find them and grab them. But it doesn't happen as often now. But back in the day when they used to have people like that, it would be like, okay, somebody to run all the way down the one, and then they bring this guy in for the rushing touchdown or jump over the pile or whatever. So definitely the human vulture was definitely a great one. Brought back some memories. So good stuff. All right, so let's talk about your guys' first year coming to the Expo. How did you hear about it? What got you involved, to come this year, show off this great product? Like I said, I'm really excited. I think a lot of people are going to really love it. So talk about how you guys found out about it and what helped you make the decision to come to this year's event.
Yeah, honestly, it's almost embarrassing. Like we Googled looking for what was out there in fantasy. We saw the Expo, and as again, huge fantasy nerd, I was actually embarrassed I had not come before. So as soon as we saw it, we said, well, yeah, we're going. And, there's a couple other conferences out there that just I'll go to or just Hybo will go to. This one we said, no, this is a fantasy expo. We are bringing like 8 people. We're playing flag football. We're playing beer pong. We're doing the expo. Like this is an amazing event.
Yeah, there's no time for sleep. Just power through it. We've kind of decided that the weekend is a combination family reunion, frat party, and fantasy football convention, all rolled into one.
Love, right? So
those are my 3 favorite things.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I see conversations about them talking like, don't you remember when we were yelling at each other at 2:30 a.m. eating pizza out in the parking lot about who's a better tight end? I'm like, that's a fantasy football expo event right there in itself. So good stuff. So yeah, you guys are coming. Talk about what you guys got planned at your booth. Getting people to know about you. Obviously, this is a good start. Once this video gets out, we'll certainly promote it, tag all you guys, and because that's the idea of this is for folks to hear about you before you get there, and then when they show up, they're like, oh yeah, I remember you guys. Yeah, you're the Smash God, and you're and you're the guy that Smash God beats in fantasy. I don't know. That's what he said. I'm just
that's how he'd like me to be remembered. I know.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, talk about what you guys got planned.
So big thing is, I mean, one, I just hope we get remembered because Minh will win the beer pong tournament. Aside from that, though,
that's good stuff.
I'm hoping that he's a shooter. We talked about playing basketball. He's a shooter. But aside from that, so look, at the booth, we're going to have a demo. I don't want to overpromise, but we're seeing if we get the data from our data provider, we might even have turn on a tournament that weekend just for people at the conference to play because it'll be preseason football that weekend. We're going to have some swag. We're going to have, I think, some cardboard cutouts of some of the cars. So you can come by the booth, get your picture taken, looking like a couple of our, I won't tell you which ones. You got to come and show up, but a couple of the more fun pieces of art. We're just going to have fun. We're going to play some games. So if you're at the expo, come to the booth. We're going to have a good time. We look forward to meeting you. Challenge Minh to beer pong. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we're just there to have fun. Like Chris said, we're there to talk fantasy sports in general. Like, what better place to just talk all things fantasy, but also, if people if they're watching this, they want to get registered in advance and just be ready to play when the expo starts. That would be amazing. Just connecting with people. Like the biggest thing for us is we love building out fantasy community. There's nothing better than meeting someone the first time. You're like, do you play fantasy sports? And then just going straight into fantasy sports nerd talk, right? So
Yeah,
going to a place where you can meet people and you just dive right into it, like that sounds so much fun. And then if we can talk smash up too, like that'd be amazing.
There's nothing that makes my wife cringe more than when I ask somebody, "Do you play fantasy football?" and they say yes, and she just goes, "Oh."
Yeah, and it's like, see you guys later. You guys will be talking for an hour.
Right. It's gonna be a while.
Yeah. If I had $1 for every time Ming and I were at a party talking fantasy sports, and we look around and realize that everyone else is slowly migrated to a different part of the room.
Yes. No, I hear you. Good stuff. Good stuff. Do you guys have any questions for me as first timers? Anything that you want to know that you're like, oh gosh, I kind of forgot. Anything that you like to hit me up with, I'm fine. If not, it's okay. I kind of forgot to remind you at the beginning to think of a thing, but if you do, great. If you don't, that's fine as well.
I got one. Just
okay.
I mean, we're noobs, right? So we've been playing fantasy for a long time, and obviously we're noobs to the expo. But like, what can we expect? What are going to be some of the highlights? Where can we, just connect with everyone? What's the best way to do that? Just like, what are the general things to know about the expo?
So I don't remember when you guys registered. Did you get room? Do you have rooms at the DoubleTree, or are you guys staying like at an Airbnb or something?
We got an Airbnb.
Okay.
We got a smash up party pad, so we're
okay. Then. So maybe we should come to your house and not hang out there.
The invite's open, so
yeah. Anyway, so a lot of us hang out, depending on when you come in, a lot of us hang out. The DoubleTree is the, kind of the host hotel. When you get in town, you come there, check in, get your swag bags and, your wristbands and, name badges and all that kind of stuff for the weekend. I always say the two parties are the best, because not only is it a party, but it's also a great place to just chat with people and introduce yourself. Because like I said, some of the biggest names in the industry are going to be there. I mean, Bob Harris from Football Diehards, Marcus Grant from NFL.com, Dave Richards from CBS Sports, Matt Harmon from Yahoo, Scott Pianowski from Yahoo, Jeff Mann's Guru Elite, on and on and on. And so, that's what's awesome about it is if you don't know them, you'd never know if they're a big deal or not, because they don't act that way. Nobody does. And it's just a great time. It's just, it's relaxing. You got a drink, you're chatting, you're talking football, you're talking about your, smash up sports. And now all of a sudden they're knowing about it. Like, oh, hey, that's cool. Can I play in this? That sounds like fun, And once you get one of those guys, and now you've got somebody with 100,000 followers going, hey, I played Smash Up Sports. That's always a cool thing too. We've had people over the years that are like, oh my gosh, I had, Mike Clay from ESPN on my podcast. And like, I'd never in a million years would have thought he would come on, but he said yes. And, it's like, because that's what it's about. Is that excitement of meeting people at various levels in the industry. Some of them are just fans, and that's fine too. I mean, I always say we're all fans of each other. I'll probably play Smash. I want to do this. This looks like a hell of a lot of fun. People buy my consistency guide, and so everybody's fans of everybody. Some of us do create whatever it is, content, leads, apps, ideas. But there's also just a lot of fans who are just there to meet people and learn new tricks and tips and, about being better at fantasy. And then, of course, we have a sports betting Saturday that it's all, 4 hours about that. You guys will be at your booth during that. There'll be all the people coming through then. So you'll be at your booth Saturday and Sunday. But that's great because now you can capture people a little more spread out. We've always done it one day. We've decided to split it in two because it was just getting too much. So now we have sports betting for 4 hours on Saturday, 6 hours of fantasy football on Sunday. Saturday is when you guys will be doing your product demo as well. So, people will be excited about that. And yeah, just enjoy, and if you play cornhole and you already signed up, great. If you want to play flag football, we still need lots of teams. Just a lot of fun and everybody has a good time. And yeah, I think you guys will enjoy it.
I'm stoked, Bob.
I mean, we're excited to talk about the company, but I think we're just excited to be there. Like, we're fantasy nerds. Like any
right. No, I hear you. Yeah.
You're describing a party. We can talk fantasy and we will not be left by ourselves in the corner. So that is amazing. Can't promise that, but
yeah. But no, yeah, I think you guys will have any other. Yeah, so great question. Any other questions for me before we go?
Maybe just what's the top highlight to you? What's the thing that you're most excited about this year? We should do
About the event, or you said
about
people?
the expo in general. No.
I mean,
the thing, the event.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, I get the most kick out of just the new people and and their excitement and you wait till you see what happens to Twitter. If you thought Twitter has been going crazy all summer just about this, wait till during and after the event when there's just a gazillion pictures and videos and tweets. And I mean, I think last year I had just on the expo Twitter alone within the 30 days, like 15 days before, 15 days after, I forget, like 1.2 million impressions. It was just nuts of how many people were sharing and hashtagging FF Expo 24, 23 last year, and just pictures. It's just nonstop. And it's just dumbfounding to me because I just look around and go, hey, this is kind of cool. I'm glad I did this. So yeah, it is a lot for me to, but once it's in play and my wife's handling all the back end stuff for me, then I can enjoy the people and all the work that I've put into it then becomes more of a, this is what I was hoping it would be. And it turns out, and we start again next year. So yeah. So I always enjoy just hearing from people like, hey, thanks. This is great. We really enjoyed it. We'll be back again next year. And that's all it means to me. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, all right. Well, guys, thank you again for being here. Looking forward to you guys coming, being an exhibitor and also being, of course, a product demo. I can't wait. People will be really excited to see that, I'm sure. Once again, just tell everybody website, Twitter's, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll take us out from here. So, Ming, you want to start?
Oh, Chris is our promo guy. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, Chris is our promo guy. Okay.
So first of all, go to the website, smashupsports.com, and register. Get ready. Again, some weekly games you can play, season-long leagues this year, a hybrid of DFS but playing against your friends, and the world's first single-player fantasy game. Fight your way up a series of bosses. Going to be really fun. Go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at SmashUpSports. And, of course, you can also listen to our podcast, The Smash Pod, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite platform.
Love it.
Yeah.
Ming, any last things before we go?
Well, I'll see you guys at the expo. I'll see you at the expo, Bob. Can't wait to play some cornhole, grab a beer, and then share more about Smash Up and hopefully see everyone on the Smash Up platform going forward.
Love it. All right. For Chris and Ming, I'm Bob Lung. Don't forget thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Get your tickets. It's only a few weeks away. You don't want to miss out. You want to make sure you get the right t-shirt size. So register before we turn it off because we will that week. Last week, you guys know this. Don't wait. You may not get your size, and then you're stuck with a schmedium. That's a problem. All right. Everybody just follow this. This is all of our socials for the expo, and we'll take it out from here. So take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.